Somewhere in a quiet cardiology archive sits a scan that stopped a room full of specialists. Cold. Two hearts. Beating. In one living woman's chest. Not a poetic figure of speech. Two separate muscular pumps, both pushing blood, documented in real medical literature. And here's the strange part. Her main heart wasn't even sitting where yours does right now. It had grown on the wrong side. Doctors first assumed a mistake, a mirror-flipped image, a trick of the machine. Then they ran it again. The mystery isn't just how a body builds a spare heart. It's what this impossible chest quietly tells us about why, out of every possible design, evolution gave nearly all of us exactly one heart, tucked slightly left. Stay with me. Let's rewind to the moment the confusion began. A woman, we'll call her Nadia, arrived complaining of nothing dramatic. Fatigue, an odd flutter. Her doctor pressed a stethoscope to the left of her chest, where every heartbeat is supposed to live loudest, and heard almost nothing there. The strong beat was on the right. That single finding has a name: dextrocardia. It means the heart points toward the right side of the chest instead of the left. A rare congenital arrangement present from birth, affecting roughly 1 in 12,000 people. On its own, dextrocardia can be completely harmless. Some people live entire lives never knowing. But Nadia's chest held a second surprise nobody was listening for. And it would take an imaging machine to reveal it. Here's what makes the human heart worth pausing on before we go further. It is not a symmetrical organ, and it was never meant to be. Deep in the earliest weeks of development, a flat tube of tissue must twist, always in the same looping direction, folding into 4 chambers, with an inbuilt left-right asymmetry. That twist is choreographed by an ancient signaling pathway shared across the animal kingdom, the same molecular handedness that decides which way a snail's shell coils. Get the twist right, and the heart lands slightly left, angled just so. This is not decoration. The leftward tuck and the looping are what let one pump serve 2 circuits, lungs and body, from a single efficient organ. Evolution didn't want 2 hearts. It refined its way down to 1. So why does that matter for Nadia? Because dextrocardia is what happens when that developmental twist runs in reverse. The loop folds the other way, and the finished heart ends up pointing right instead of left. In many people, this is part of a broader mirror image arrangement where the entire set of internal organs is flipped, a condition called situs inversus. When the flip is total and tidy, the plumbing still works. Everything simply lives on the opposite side, a coherent reflection. The body, remarkably, doesn't mind a clean mirror. What it struggles with is a partial, messy asymmetry, organs that half flip or connections that don't line up. Nadia's scans, though, hinted at something science had barely cataloged, not a flip, an addition. Now the second loop opens. When the imaging results came back, one region of Nadia's chest showed muscular tissue with its own rhythmic contractions, its own beat, distinct from the main heart's timing. In the documented literature on cardiac anomalies, there are extraordinary reports of duplicated or accessory cardiac structures, rare, sometimes described as a second heart, where an additional mass of heart-like muscle forms and, astonishingly, contracts. These are among the rarest findings a cardiologist can encounter, so rare that many spend an entire career without seeing one. The team faced a question that sounds like fiction. Was this genuinely a second functioning pump, or a fragment of misplaced cardiac tissue behaving like one? To answer it, they had to watch the 2 beats together. Picture the monitor, 2 waveforms side by side tracing across the screen. The main heart, over on the right, holding its steady march. And beside it, a second, smaller pattern, offset, not perfectly synced, keeping its own quiet time. For the specialists in that room, this was the payoff and the puzzle at once. A heart's rhythm is generated by a natural pacemaker, a tiny node of cells that fires the electrical spark. For a second structure to beat independently, it needed its own spark generator, its own cluster of pacemaker-like cells. That is the truly astonishing part. It wasn't just extra muscle. It carried a whisper of the heart's own electrical soul, the same self-firing machinery that, in you, is beating right now without a single instruction from your brain. Let's step back to the evolutionary why, because this is where the wonder deepens. Your heart's ability to beat on its own, no nerve command required, is one of biology's oldest inheritances. Even a heart lifted from the chest can keep contracting briefly because the rhythm is baked into the muscle cells themselves. This autonomy evolved for a brutal reason. An animal cannot afford to consciously remember to pump blood. So nature hardwired the beat below awareness into self-firing cells that keep going through sleep, through unconsciousness, through everything. Nadia's second structure, in carrying its own faint pacemaker signal, was a startling echo of that ancient design. Proof that the instruction, "make tissue that beats by itself," is written deep enough in our cells that it can, on rare occasions, be executed twice. But two hearts is not a bonus. This is where the story turns sober. Evolution converged on one heart for reasons of ruthless efficiency, and a second, uncoordinated pump doesn't add power. It adds complication. Two rhythms that don't agree can disturb the flow of blood, strain the circuit, and create pressures the body was never engineered to balance. This is precisely why nature spent hundreds of millions of years perfecting a single, exquisitely timed organ rather than doubling up. A spare heart sounds like an upgrade. In truth, the human circulatory system is a symphony written for one conductor. Add a second, and even if both are healthy, they may fight for control. Doctors monitoring cases like Nadia's watch closely for exactly that. The cost, hidden inside the marvel. So how does a body end up building the impossible? The answer lies back in those first fragile weeks, when the heart tube is looping and folding. The genes that direct this are astonishingly precise, but they operate on a razor's edge. A subtle disruption in the left-right signaling, the very handedness that decides your heart's tilt, can produce dextrocardia. A different stumble, a duplication in how the tissue divides or migrates, may leave behind an extra mass of cardiac cells that continues to develop on its own. Nadia's chest, it seems, experienced not one, but two rare deviations from the standard blueprint stacked together. The result is a living record of just how many ways the most reliable organ in your body could have gone differently, and almost never does. Here's the detail that lingers with me. Nadia had lived for decades not knowing. Her heart on the right, her second structure beating quietly beside it, and her body simply adapted around the arrangement it was born into. This is the quiet genius of human development. It doesn't demand the textbook design, it works with whatever it builds. The scans that stunned the specialists were, to Nadia, just the ordinary machinery she'd always carried. It raises a genuinely humbling thought. How many people walk around with hearts on the wrong side, or with anatomies that would make a cardiologist's jaw drop, feeling entirely normal? Because normal was never a single blueprint. It was always a range. And that's the original insight buried in this case. We talk about the body as if it followed one exact plan, but every one of us is a slightly different execution of an ancient set of instructions. The reason nearly all of us have one heart, tilted left, isn't because it's the only way a heart could form. Nadia proves it isn't. It's because that particular arrangement survived, got passed down, and worked well enough, generation after generation, that it became the overwhelming default. The rare exceptions aren't failures. They're glimpses of the roads evolution didn't take. The alternative drafts the body is still occasionally capable of writing when the developmental pen slips. There is no tidy cure story here, and there shouldn't be. Cases like Nadia's are studied with caution and care, monitored rather than mythologized, because a real human life is not a curiosity. What her chest offers science is understanding, a rare window into how the heart is assembled, how its rhythm is born, and how faithfully those instructions are usually followed. 2 hearts, 1 woman, a pump on the wrong side and a second one keeping its own secret time. It sounds like something invented. It's documented. And it stands as a reminder that the single heartbeat in your chest right now is not an accident. It's the winning draft of a story hundreds of millions of years in the writing. If a story about the body's hidden alternate blueprints made you see your own heartbeat a little differently tonight, that's exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe to Body Decoded, and we'll keep pulling apart the rarest, strangest, most wondrous cases medicine has ever recorded. The impossible things your body is quietly capable of. Because somewhere out there is another scan, another mystery, another person carrying an anatomy no textbook prepared us for. And when the doctors are stunned into silence, we'll be here to walk you through it. 1 heartbeat, 1 marvel, 1 decoded mystery at a time. Hit subscribe and stay curious. Your own body has more secrets than you think.